Greetings everyone, it is Wildpeasant here, and today I have a spicy topic to talk about. So do Russian tanks suck in real life? The question which does some debate on the internet and also in Warthunder since they feel quite OP in game, yet in real life events shows a different aspect of these tanks.
This is fine.
Before we start, let me make it clear that I am not a military expert, but I do have deep interest in military hardware in game and in real life. So with this in mind, let's jump into it.
Grind, pain, joy.
I'm pretty sure everyone who plays Warthunder is also watching the ongoing war in Ukraine, where many tanks are tested on the field daily. So when the Ukraine-Russian war peaked in 2022, many people were expecting huge tank battles between both sides, especially after Ukraine received dozens of Western tanks, including Abramses, Leopards, Challengers and a lot more. Unfortunately, tank-to-tank engagements are really rare, and even if it happens, it's even rarer to have a footage of it. Still, the massive vehicle graveyard shows that this conflict does inflict huge losses in armor to both sides. Whether we talk about Abrams, Leopards or any of the T-series what both sides are fielding, the new drone warfare showed us that any tank which thought to be invincible quite easily becoming victims to these cheap drones. However, people still bashing the Russian armor and the lack of survivability. So let's talk about survivability. Most people say that Russian armor is useless and weak compared to the Western ones, a literal death traps and clearly not as good as in game. One of the reasons why people think and say things like these are because of well-edited propaganda what we were shown in the media. For example, most of the time when you see a turretless wreckage of a Russian tank, you see the aftermath of the battle, but most of the time not how it went down. Many times people missing the point that most of those tanks were already abandoned before they got destroyed. Open hatches are a clear sign of this. For example, if this footage was cut by an Ukrainian editor, this video might look like this. And this is the actual footage. Well, as you see, the truth shows a different view, and this is just one of many occasions. You see, the end result is the same what you would expect, but you don't see how much punishment this T-72 endured before it got destroyed, also protecting its crew who managed to survive and flee away. There were also several interviews with Russian tank crews who said how many armor they got destroyed under their command, yet they're still alive, which means the survivability of these tanks are much better than what the media telling you.
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Conclusion. Most of the turret-tossed wreckages what you saw on the news were already abandoned by its crew, and you saw only the end result of these tanks after getting targeted and destroyed by FPV drones. Meaning, in most cases, the crew survived, which means the survivability of the Russian tanks are not as horrific as we were told to. Not to mention that many of these wreckages later were getting towed back to base, scrapped or fixed, and within a few days or weeks these tanks were rolling right back into action. Of course, it doesn't mean that Russia doesn't suffer any real unrecoverable losses on the battlefield. There are many footages when these tanks are getting vaporized by drones or ATGMs in an instant with its crew, but that is also true to Western armor as well. About the autoloader and ammunition carousel. Many people are blaming the autoloader because of these devastating explosions, but the truth is, it's not the autoloader nor the ammo carousel's fault. It is the additional ammunition which is stored within the turret. You see, even in Warthunder, players are trying to store limited ammo as much as possible to reduce the chance to get ammo detonation, but in real war you want as much ammunition as possible. That's why even the Leopard 2s get vaporized the same way as these T-80s, because both were fully loaded and well get one-tapped by an ATGM or drone. Conclusion. The autoloader and its ammo carousel is actually much safer, especially the T-90 series, which places the ammo horizontally deep within the hull, and the carousel also features some protection against fragmentations.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Drone warfare. Because of this new age of warfare, tanks feel quite easy prey to drones, which can target tanks from almost any angle, attacking the weak spots easily with tandem charges. A new threat which forced all sides to evolve their doctrine and protection of their armored vehicles. Russia started to improve their armor with cop cages and electronic jammers, which had some success.
What the hell is even that?
Yo, they even built a damn house on their tank to counter drones. Surprisingly, it works quite well. Because of drones, it is hard to say that Russian tanks are bad or inferior compared to the Western ones, because both sides can be knocked out by a single drone and later destroyed. Tank engagement. So one of the most famous tank engagements of the war is the Bradley versus T-90M. A famous footage of the war, which of course the media tried to belittle the T-90M performance because it is the most advanced Russian tank in the war. And so let's analyze what happened in this encounter. Firstly, the tank was patrolling alone, which we all know it is a fatal mistake. Second, it got ambushed in close engagement. The recon team on the Russian side failed to inform the tank about the Bradley. Third, the gunner of the Bradley did an excellent job to blind the T-90M by destroying its optics, making it unable to return fire. The turret ring also got damaged in the engagement. But in the end, all crew managed out alive from this encounter thanks to the tank's survivability. So yeah, Russian armor is not as bad as people think.
It's not true. That's impossible!
Modern ATGM. So the NLAW and the Javelin did an excellent job to destroy or disable Russian armor in the early days of the war, but even these weapons, which designed to deal with Russian armor, sometimes fail to deliver. Russians also widely using their own ATGMs like the Kornet missiles, which can pretty much one-shot any Western tank, so both side anti-armor weapon is lethal against the other. So I wouldn't say Russian armor is inferior protection-wise against ATGM threats than its Western counterparts.
Must have been the wind.
Conclusion. Overall, the Russian armor does its job quite well in this anti-armor warfare. It is cheaper to produce and much easier to maintain than its Western counterparts, making them quite formidable weapon on the battlefield. So in my opinion, Russian tanks aren't worthless nor trash. It is just the same as before in the Second World War. They were not on the same level as the Germans, but still the Germans feared the Soviet armor even if it was inferior compared to their panzers. That's why they kept upgrading and improving their own vehicles to match and overpower the Soviet ones. So after all of these informations what I represented to you, it is hard to say that Russian armor is overperforming in game compared to real life. In Warthunder, Russian MBTs are quite formidable, yes, but I wouldn't call them broken. Yes, their frontal armor is one of the strongest and the ammo carousel sometimes refuses to explode even if you penetrate it, which is really annoying. But overall, they are quite balanced gameplay-wise. As someone who grinded out 4 nations so far, I think they are pretty mid without their aircrafts. So yeah, but anyway, this is it from me today. What do you think about this? Are you satisfied with my analysis? Do you think Russian armor still sucks in real life? Let me know in the comment section below. Also leave a like and sub if you want to see more content like this, and have a good one.